Joe Goodhue.
Mr Chair, I seek leave of the House for the committee stage of this debate to be taken as one question.
Leave for the multiple calls or just one question? Right?
One question.
One question. The House has heard the leave. Leave is sought for that purpose. Is there anyone opposed to that course of action? It appears not. Leave is granted. So the question is that parts 1 and 2, schedules 1 and 2 and clauses 1 to 3 stand part. Honourable Darren Hughes.
Mr Chairman, thank you for recognising me. And I see my speech has met with your approval. You're departing from the chair. Mr Chairman. Thank you, Mr Chairman. I have that effect. Mr Chairman, the Committee of the Whole is now considering the Civil Aviation Cape Town Convention and Other Matters Amendment Bill, and as signalled to the Minister during the second reading, the opposition does have some questions for her that we are seeking her clarification on. I've got 3 or 4, and I know my colleagues have got some more as well. The bill, which we're now considering, I should say we're considering every clause in the bill and both parts plus the title and commencement all as one question. So the comments and observations we're making range across the 15 clauses and the various schedules that are set out in the bill. So my first question to the Minister is to note that Part 1, as she'll be aware, inserts a new Part 12 into the principal legislation. And so I wanted the Minister to comment as to which will take precedence if New Zealand domestic law goes down a different path to what may be a clause within the new Part 12, because presumably Part 12, once it's inserted into the principal law, won't be in a position to be amended by the New Zealand Parliament because it will need to reflect the requirements of the Convention that have been carefully negotiated by both our negotiators and those who participated in this. But if the Parliament is to consider other matters to do with civil aviation that amend the principal legislation, how the new Part 12, which we're inserting in Part 1 of the bill, will make a difference in our law for this country. I think this goes to the heart of economic sovereignty for New Zealand, and I think if she can give us an answer on that matter, that will answer some questions we've got about how these conventions fit in when they're not standalone, when they actually end up fitting in with existing New Zealand legislation. Be very interested for her comments on that. So Clause 6 of the bill sets out matters which the Minister matters to be taken into account in making rules by the Minister. It's an amendment to Section 33(2) of the Civil Aviation Act. I just wonder if the Minister could set out what kind of matters the Government thinks the Minister will have to take into account when they are setting rules or making any rules or recommending the making of any rules as part of Clause 6. I'm also interested in Clause 7, which is the procedure for making ordinary rules. The Minister must take into account consultation. I wonder how that was arrived at, particularly Clause 7(1)(b)(1), where the persons, representative groups within the aviation industry or elsewhere, government departments and Crown agencies. I think it would be helpful if the Minister gave us a flavour of what kinds of organisations we're talking about there, what the government's, when the government uses language like that in legislation, which of course we are supporting, to what extent that they are using that consultation to be as broad or as narrow as possible. I'd like to know, with those changes, given that we're talking about simplifying civil aviation rules in other parts of this bill, then if these consultation provisions, which are set out in Clause 7 for the procedure for making these ordinary rules, if she could clarify for us who will be affected by that. Those are just some questions that I have. If we could get some answers or clarification on that from the Minister, I'd be most interested. I could, sir, make the observation that Clause A gives the Governor-General new powers to make ordinary rules with respect to civil aviation, and whether the Government gave any consideration to the Governor-General's other role as Commander-in-Chief of New Zealand, whether that just vests far too much power in the hands of one person. But I think that I see as the Minister Oh, my luck has turned. The Minister of Transport has arrived just to take those questions. I hope the Minister of Labour will give him the notes that she took for my questions. It would be a shame if I was to be seated and he was not in a position to answer the question. But I'm not getting an indication from either of them that that's the case. But just to update Mr Joyce, who no doubt was behind the Cape Town Convention, the suggestion for it, because we know from the feature articles he has arranged to be written about himself what quite a high opinion he has on the world stage. New Zealand would be quite a small market for him, so probably in Cape Town he was the guy who sealed the deal. Mr Chairman.
The Honourable Darren Hughes.
So, Mr Chairman, I just wanted to recap now that the Minister is in the chair, the Minister who's sponsoring this legislation, that I've got a question around Clause 6, which is what matters are taken into account. Clause 5 on the power of the Minister to make ordinary rules, and on the insertion of a new Part 12 into the principal legislation, which sits in Part 1, a question for the Minister about if there are changes in other civil aviation law that are not consistent with the Convention, and if the Convention is now being codified as a new Part 12 of the law, which takes precedence, because I'm presuming the Government is not in a position to make any amendments to Part 12. Part 12 presumably is the text of the Convention to which we've signed at another level. So if the Minister could answer those very simple and very few questions that we've put forward to him, that would be... Well, that's very generous of my colleague to say so, but I'm sure, as this Minister is constantly telling his colleagues, nothing is beyond his purview or remit or ability, and so therefore we look forward to the elucidation by him of the questions that I've asked and my colleagues Darren Fenton and Carol Beaumont. Mr Chairman, thank you.